Nomazibulo Tshanga.
It is a privilege for me to be sitting next to Dr. Jerry Gule, who is the CEO of the IPM, which is the Institute of People Management. Dr. Gule,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for joining us today for this leadership conversation.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Great. So tell me, as a CEO of IPM, what does your role entail? And what does IPM do?
Yeah. Let me start with your second question. The Institute of People Management is an organization that is celebrating 78 years in 2023. So we've been around a while, and our core business is really to develop and to advocate for the people management profession, the HR and people management professionals. That's what we do.
So what does your role entail?
Yeah, so my role, I'm the cheerleader.
Yeah.
I call myself the cheerleader of the team.
Yeah.
And the advocate and the face of the institution, they advocate for the profession. I'm very passionate about that, to make sure that indeed we uphold the standards that we need to be upholding in the HR profession.
What type of standards are you talking about?
Yeah, so the standards involve being ethical in our
Yeah.
practice, making sure that what we do is what is really valid and what is adding value, not only to the employees of organizations, but just to make sure that our conduct as professionals is above board. That's what we advocate. That's what we want to see. Those are the standards that we want to hold our members to.
So you've been around in terms of the leadership roles. So tell me about your career journey.
Yes.
How did it all start?
I wouldn't even say that is something that I planned. When I undertook my university education, I was trained to be a teacher. I trained as a teacher, which is
Yeah.
something I love. But I could only teach for only 2 semesters because my university came knocking and said, hey, we want you to come back.
Yes.
And that then really set me on this particular leadership journey. But I was reflecting. I mean, I look back at my high school days.
Yeah.
Even before I was 19, when you have all the students around you say, when we are going to be our leader.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes leadership is thrust at you. And that was my experience, that people, you would have this, you try to resist, but you have this responsibility. But once I left teaching, after 2 semesters, joined the university, I then joined the division of that particular university, which was then the University of Eswatini today, or Swaziland and Botswana at the time, University of Botswana and Swaziland.
Yeah.
I was in the extension unit of that university teaching. Mainly I was recruited to participate in management development for public and private sector employees, of course. And that opened my eyes to a different world altogether.
What type of world are we talking about?
So we are talking about a world where if you are given a position of authority, it's actually not for you to be basking in that position and to be throwing your weight around, but you realize that it's a responsibility for the people that you lead, as well as a responsibility to make sure that the organization actually gets value from everybody who's involved in the organization. So that's the world that I'm talking about. And it's been an exciting world to be part of that. One of the things that I really enjoy is to see people that I work with, to see them grow and reach higher levels of in their own careers. That to me is satisfying. And that's why I'm in this particular profession of human resources management. Yes.
So how did you transition then from starting to be a teacher?
Yeah.
Worked at a university.
Yeah.
You worked in corporate.
Yes.
I understand that you worked in the petroleum industry
Yes.
at some point.
Yes.
So talk me through that.
Yeah. Well, let me start by saying this thing, but say it in a tongue-in-cheek manner. I took advantage of affirmative action. Let's just put it that way. So I ran around.
So
but
there was an opportunity, and you were like, "I'm not gonna miss this
I
opportunity."
know I'm not going to miss the opportunity. So,
Yeah.
so having left teaching, joined the university where I was for 15 years. and then decided I was finding that environment rather constraining in some ways, at least in the particular things that I wanted to achieve. So I joined the private sector, starting off as a training manager. In those days, then, the next level was in the company where I was, personnel manager, which was making sure that the records and everything else was correct.
Very administrative.
Very
We'll talk about
administrative.
that later.
But then I was promoted into the role of heading the entire HR function. I was in that role in this particular organization, which was a forestry company, for about, I think it was just about 5 years. And then I decided, my wife, who had been in Swaziland as because her family had moved there, wanted to come back to South Africa, and he said, darling, this is where we go back. I'm going back home. And we ended up here. In fact, she was a DDG in one of the government departments. So I joined Standard Bank when I came here. From Standard Bank, I went to Bromo Foods, which was part of Cadbury.
How was the culture at Standard Bank?
I think at the time, Standard Bank was, like all South African organizations, had embarked on this challenge of transforming and becoming inclusive. So it was exciting but challenging at times. Challenging at times because some people you have to track screaming and shouting, not wanting to change. But once we have a leadership, and for me, I mean, I didn't spend a lot of time in that, but it was so fulfilling because you had the old CEO of that organization leaving. We had a new CEO coming and saying, I want a culture. I want to build a team, and I want to build this particular kind of culture because we're moving into, I joined just before the so-called year 2000.
Yes.
And there were a lot of changes, and banks were, of course, in the forefront of that. So it was an exciting time. Really putting in the DNA of what the leadership of that organization was going to be, being part of that. So I enjoyed my time there. Yeah.
So while you were in corporate, trying to climb the corporate ladder, you've occupied quite a number of leadership positions, and you've played a very instrumental part in the people management space. So tell me, what values should corporate South Africa entrench themselves when it comes to leadership?
The literature on leadership, from given where we've come from and how this thing was started, when it started, the whole thing around leadership development, leadership, the management and all that, all military based, right? That's the case studies that we've had. I think in a modern world like we live in today, particularly in a world that has changed, and I think changed forever and will continue to change. For me, the values that leaders should embrace, should exude: integrity, being humble, being authentic, not being a fake, being who you are, presenting who you are, and being vulnerable. In other words, just
I love that, being vulnerable.
And I learned that from my my team at this petroleum company that you referred to. It's so nice when people look beyond this is our leader and look to the person, and they can connect with the person. It's a wonderful feeling. So those are the things. Don't try to be a Mr. or Mrs. Know-it-all or Miss Know-it-all. No. Just be you. There are things you will know as a leader, and there are things you have no clue about, but you are surrounded with people who know, because you have brought them into the organization. So rely on those people.
Definitely.
That's what I see. Those are the things that I think we should embrace as leaders. Of course, we must know the business.
Of course.
But in terms of a value that drives you, those I would put
integrity.
I would put those top notch.
Yes, definitely. And I couldn't agree with you more. So what challenges did you experience while you were in corporate as a leader?
One thing that you learn as a leader is that people have different motives, and it sometimes amazes me. And I always question this. Why is it that we come looking, or people come looking for work, they get the work, and all of a sudden something changes? Someone needs to tell me why that is the case. People behave like they become immature sometimes. And that's unprofessional. And as a leader, that frustrated me, still continues to frustrate me, because you want to trust people to do what they promise to do. But sometimes that's not the case.
That's not
and
the
of
case.
course, you find the so-called corporate politics.
Let's get into
backbiting.
that. Corporate politics.
Yes.
What does that look like? I mean, now we have your conversation. You've been in corporate, I've been in corporate.
Yes.
But to a young graduate,
Yes.
to a person entering the space, the corporate space, and hearing about these terms, what does that look like?
Yeah. So, simply put, people bring hidden agendas to the workplace. And they don't disclose, and it therefore militates against what I've just said, which is be authentic. Don't be schizophrenic. Schizophrenic as a person. You are one thing outside. You are one. No, be you.
Be yourself.
Be yourself. And the corporate politics comes because I think it's just maybe the pie is too small. Therefore, people want to ingratiate themselves to the powers that be, and therefore I want to, make the other person look bad. And in my view, I let people play the politics. I don't care about the politics. Yes, I care in the sense that if it affects, particularly now in the HR space, if it affects other people, then you have to confront it, right? And I did that. And I remember doing it as a new employee in one organization. I was almost fired within the first week. But I said, if that's what has to happen, that's what has to happen. But
you need to stick to what is right.
Yes, I need to stick to what is right. I'm not going to be used, and I'm not going to be unfair to other people. My role is my role. Your role is your role. If that's how you play your role, play it.
But allow me to play
my role. Yes,
definitely. As professionals, and give each other space to do that.
Yes.
Agreed. So what is people management, and how important is that profession, or people management in the corporate space?
People management is so key because actually there is no organization without people. So if you mess up with your people, if you if you stifle the potential of your people, I think you are to a beating to nothing. So it is core. Someone has said, you build the people and the people will build the business. So make sure that you take care of the people and allow them to reach, to rise to their potential, because they will help you to build the business. People are vital. So people management really is about how do you treat your people in the workplace. And most importantly, it's not just vertical, also horizontal. What kind of colleagues are we in the workplace? It's important that employees also understand the importance of being collegial, being colleagues that are also genuine, not fakes, and not backbiting. Because what kills an organization is, and just dampens the spirit, is when there's negative energy. People are not being good colleagues. So it's about that.
So corporate culture then is key.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So globally, we've faced a tumultuous period in the past 2 years with COVID-19. What did this mean for the HR professionals and leadership?
Yeah. Let me start by saying HR professionals, in my view, let me talk maybe about our members.
HR body association.
Yes, they outdid themselves.
Yeah.
They
Kudos
played
to the HR
such
professionals.
a critical role, not only taking care of the employees, but also taking care of communities. I salute them for that. It was a difficult, but of course it's just to engender a spirit of, listen guys, we've got to pull together here, bring the values. But they had to rise to the occasion because everyone was looking at them to say, now what do we do with this? Because it was all new, all novel. So they did well, in my view.
And then what does that then mean going forward for leadership and HR professionals? This change that we've just undergone.
I think the change, one, is irreversible. We have, in the past, we've always lamented, and some people still lament. I must tell you, it frustrates me to no end when people say, HR hasn't risen up to the so-called table. They are not at the table.
At the table, they're not getting a seat at the table.
They are not getting the seat at the table. I don't like that phrase because I think they are. Someone has said, if we are not at the table, then maybe you've got to force your way in. But I think they have, and they need to remain there. And they need to. We don't need to lose that position, that position of influence.
Strategic partnership.
It is a strategic partnership, and they must continue to do that.
So what kind of role can HR play at the seat at the table? And what kind of drive and shift and value they can add to the organization.
Yeah. I do believe that, let's put it this way, organizations have people that add value and people who do not add value. Those people could be in HR, could be in finance, could be in IT. So all over the show, it's not just HR that doesn't add value. Sometimes some organizations don't see that function as adding value, but it adds immense value. We are talking now about the fact that we must ensure that there is well-being in the workplace, that there is a proper balance of what people do and their lives.
Personal lives,
yes, their personal lives. And organizations that are going to attract the talent, which, by the way, they do through these professionals. Yeah. So if you look down upon these professionals who bring the talent, and you don't give them the authority that they deserve, I think you're undermining your own organization, the performance of the organization. HR is not about just
the growth of the organization.
It's not just about people. HR professionals must also understand, how do we make money in this organization? How do we lose money in this organization? How can we then change? So I believe in HR professionals who walk out of their offices into where the work is happening. With the sales teams, with whatever team, but going out there, because you recruit, when you bring talent in, you've got to understand the conditions under which that talent is going to be working. Yeah. So
and talking about wellness, which I think is a very important part when it comes to employee well-being, and just the well-being of the organization as well. Because once the organization has good, well taken care of employees are able to deliver better. Employees are able to show up. The performance increases, and then the organization benefits. So how important is an inclusive workplace culture and connectedness?
Absolutely essential. Particularly in a country like South Africa. Of course, in all countries. I mean, we've seen the nonsense that happens in other countries around just undermining other people. And it's not about race. I was talking to a colleague. I mean, our attitude as African men to African women, or to women in general. My wife and I the other day were talking about the fact that you could be, my wife has a PhD and she's the smartest person in the house, because hers is in demography and statistics, and she did maths.
The clever things.
The clever thing. But here is the point, is that she could be walking down the street and she was saying, you get undermined by almost everybody. As long as they are putting on trousers and they are called men, they look at this woman and they think they can just do anything. And this is my wife, whom I respect. Of course I get angry when that happens. So what am I saying? I'm simply saying inclusivity is so critical in all, not just in the workplace, in communities. Because we've got to allow the equality that we talk about, particularly with things here in South Africa underpinned by the Constitution. But we have to change the attitude. Let me, just before I close this, our kids go to multiracial schools. You know who needs to transform first? Sometimes it's the parents.
That
who
takes
need to
the kids
change to ensure, allow that culture of inclusivity, what we say in private, in public, is actually itself inclusive. Because we may say one thing in public and do something completely different when we get to our private environments. My wife and I had that conversation, that if you send your kids to multiracial school, actually expect them to, can I use the word, to fall in love with anyone, and you must be comfortable with that. But there are people who say, no, it's not going to happen. So
not under my roof.
Not under my roof. So what am I saying? I'm saying it's critical. It's critical to allow the talent that we have in the country to blossom. All the talent, not just a section of the talent, all the talent that we have. So inclusivity is for me, is critical.
It's critical, yes. We are going to go to an ad break, and then we'll be back shortly. I'm having a leadership conversation with Dr. Jerry Gule, who is the CEO of the IPM. welcome to 2023. We're quite excited about this year. We are hosting the Brunch with Noma on the 25th of March 2023. Our theme for this year is Be Unstoppable and Be Significant. We're quite excited. We've got a good lineup of speakers that will be sharing their knowledge, experience, and just words of wisdom and encouraging us to get geared for this year and be exceptional in the spaces that we operate in. So we will be showcasing the posters on our social media pages. Please do register for the Brunch with Noma that's coming up soon on the 25th of March. Welcome back to the Leaders in Conversation. I am having a conversation with Dr. Jerry Gule on all things leadership, corporate, and organizational culture. So getting right along or moving right along. So a study that was conducted by Deloitte, the power of people reimagined, shaping the workforce of the future. What are the key things we should consider as we shape this workforce of the future?
Yeah, the future is here, and the future keeps changing.
And the future is now.
The future is now.
Yeah.
I think we must understand the season, if I may say, where we are, and listen to the futurists, what they are telling us. Sometimes we don't want to hear those people. We hear what they say, and we say, no, this is unbelievable. The world is never, ever going to be like that. But I think in preparing the workforce of the future, let's understand the skills that are going to be required.
Yeah.
And therefore, our school system really needs to be jacked up to prepare the young people.
Because that's where it starts.
That's where it starts. That's where the mind is shaped. And that we know that the future is a future where technology is, we must understand what's happening. Yeah. Information and data is multiple. And you need to be able to interpret that data and to mine and to use it. So that's the future. Yeah. So our people must, we know, must be analytic. Yeah. Because there's so much information being thrown at us. We must be able to think, by the way. Yeah. Because thinking, as you know, is not that easy.
It's not easy. It's not easy as we think it is.
Yes. We want people to collaborate. This new world of work.
For more from Leaders in Conversation with Nomazibulo Tshanga, you can continue listening to the rest of this episode on your audio streaming service app. Our podcast is available on various audio streaming platforms. Details in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.